Okay, we are live. We are recording, just so everyone is aware. I'm still waiting for 3 of the applicants to arrive onto the meeting. Hi, Robin. You're with Bowen, correct?
Okay. Yes, I'm with Bowen. I also have Alan Renzi and Kyle Hulowat here. And it looks like Pete DeFranco, our civil engineer, is also on.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, Sue. It's Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. I was sitting in a room all by myself because I accidentally logged on to the city council meeting.
Oops, a little early for city council.
58, I knew I was doing it wrong.
Maybe a little bit. All right. I have some people that had joined via phone. Last 4 digits of a phone number, 6439.
Yes, ma'am. It's Jason Dawson with Total Image Solutions.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And last phone number ending in 1850. Could I have the person that joined under phone number 1850, please announce who you are
And unmute.
and unmute?
Well, Dawn, let's get started. If the person needs to announce themselves and be heard, then we'll deal with it then. It's 6 o'clock. We're here for the Planning Commission meeting. Dawn, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Gallagher,
Here.
Sue Grodick,
Here.
Stephen Coyle,
Here.
Brian Summers.
Here. I'm at me 1850 on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
You're very
And
low,
then-
Brian. Your volume is very low, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is this
And
better?
then we had Jim Oper call in, absent excused.
Thank you. First, we have the approval of the minutes from March 4th. If there are no suggestions or changes, I move we approve.
Second.
That was you, Stephen, correct?
Yes, that was.
Thank you. And then to approve, Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
and Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dawn, did we have any comments for this evening's meeting?
At this point, I have not received any public comments for any of the items on the agenda.
Thank you. So the first request that we have on the agenda tonight is a request from Total Image Solutions for a new freestanding sign in the same location as the existing gas station at 4295 Tiedemann Road. And Dave, would you mind going over this and identifying any issues?
Yes.
Can you see the screen real quick? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we have the Valero gas station that's proposing to go in here at the old Sunoco. They want to reuse the structure from the Sunoco sign. The sign is going to be a little bit shorter at 15 feet tall, but a little wider, which also makes it closer to the right of way by a foot from what was there originally. So they're saying it's 2 feet away from the right of way, and it will end up needing a variance of 13 feet from that required distance, which is equal to the height of the sign. Also, additionally, there's been signs put up in the front of the building. I don't know if Monster Energy Drink is the sponsor for this gas station now, but there has not been any submittal for these. These are pictures that we had taken today. So we would like that to be addressed. And if these are going to be permanent signs, they should also be subject to review and be submitted for that.
Thank you, Dave. For the representative from Total Image Solutions, would you like to review that and address any concerns that Dave had outlined?
Yes, ma'am. So we are proposing to go with a smaller overall height sign from 24 foot down to 15 foot, and reducing the overall square footage from 76 to 40. As far as the monster signs in the storefront, the store operator more than likely got those from Coca-Cola. They typically, Coke or Pepsi, they'll give these guys whatever signs they can, and they'll put them up everywhere. We can make sure that those signs are removed. They definitely are not something that's in our proposal or part of the Valero branding of the store. So typically, we go in and we'd have to remove temporary signage. So we can make sure that if you want to say that that's contingent with this permit, we'll remove them. We'll probably have to remove them anyway for Valero to approve the site. We went with a standard smaller sign at this location. They don't have a lot of vertical offerings where we could go with a taller sign that's not quite as narrow, but we're open for whatever suggestions if this current setup, does not work for everybody.
Does anybody on the Planning Commission have any questions or comments before I intervene? Sue, Stephen, Brian, anything?
Dawn, could you put the photo of the sign?
Dave, it's Steven. Is there any concern with that being that short? It's going to cause any obstructed view as you turn around that corner there?
So Stephen, one of the concerns that I have, and I was waiting for other Planning Commission members to intervene, is we had GPD group do a study, a safety study along Memphis corridor because we're looking at a road diet. And one of the concerns they had, not because of the road diet, but because in general, ingress egress areas, was this gas station. So there was a lot of accidents in this particular area. If you, those who are residents of Brooklyn would know this, there are 2 ingress and egress points on both the Tiedemann side as well as the Memphis side. And so the comment that GPD made was that at this particular intersection, the recommendation was to either remove the ingress egress area or make that a specific right turn, right out. So that would be my suggestion as far as for the zoning board, is that if they are going to approve this with this variance, that the ingress egress that is closest to the sign be removed, because it is causing accidents. And especially the fact that it is wider. I am concerned that it may contribute to even more accidents if we do not push these back a little to the farther away entrances and exits.
Dave, do you happen to know, did the first sign need a variance? It just seems so close to the sidewalk.
It did. And even at that time, it was, again, just a kind of a repeat of the sign that existed even prior to that. We made, concessions were made to keep it smaller and then to keep it open underneath. There couldn't be any obstructions underneath. But that was kind of shrunk down to accommodate at that time. So here, it's within the allowable square footage for a sign like that, a freestanding sign. But it's, still close to the right of way. But it has the open space underneath it that, you definitely at minimum want to maintain.
We can also, we're not tied to the 15-foot overall height. If elevating the bottom of the sign more to give more openness underneath is something that would be beneficial, that's fine with us. We just thought that bringing it down would, reduce the square footage, reduce the height some, and still leave the openness. But if you would prefer it to be at 18, 20-foot overall height, we could do that as well if that has any benefits.
And I just say, I don't know if it would be beneficial or not. The bottom of the sign is already at 10 feet high with this setup. I don't recall exactly what the one was before. I'm not sure if that's going to be a little bit taller or lower of an opening at the bottom of it. But it's not a bad suggestion.
I'll tell you, for the Planning Commission's purposes of moving forward, my suggestion would be that we would approve contingent on the removal of the monster signs, as well as the removal of the ingress egress closest driveways to the sign, and then leave it up to the Zoning Board of Appeals to make a decision from there. But I'd like some feedback from the other members of the Planning Commission.
So you said both of the two closest driveways to the sign, correct?
Correct. The closest driveway on the Tiedemann side and the closest driveway to the sign on the Memphis side.
So just so I'm clear with everybody, are we talking about so it looks like there's a entrance exit that is right beside the sign on Memphis Ave. There's a entrance exit on Tiedemann Road right beside the sign. Then there's additional entrances and exits on the opposite ends of the property on the other sides of the canopy. Is that correct?
Correct. There are a total of 4 ingress egress points on the property.
Okay. And you guys would like for those to either be exit turnouts only or not used at all? And the reason I'm asking is I'm just trying to get the canopies, trying to get the MID sign approved. I can't speak for the operator. If this is what it's contingent on, I will for surely take it back to the owner and they would make a decision if they want that sign, then they've got to live by that ruling. But I just want to make sure that I understand what's being proposed.
That's a proposal by the mayor. I have 3 other commissioners on the line here. That would be my vote. My vote would be a no unless there's the removal of the egress points closest to the sign, as well as the removal of the monster signs. But I'll let Sue, Stephen, and Brian interject if they agree otherwise, because there are 3 votes enough for you to go forward without mine.
Understand.
So would the removal of those ingress and egress points free up some space to maybe move that sign a little bit away from 2 feet away from the sidewalk? Maybe not in the entire 15 feet, but.
So I'm looking at the overhead, which is on the canopy specification page. And in looking at that, one of my concerns would be on one of those ingress, egress, the tank farm. Well, in the middle, right in front of the store is the tank farm that the fuel tanker has to drop fuel at. And I don't know that they can access that with coming in from the other areas, because they'd have to go underneath the canopy or around the canopy. Could you propose making that a one-way entrance, one-way exit, to where on Tiedemann is entrance only and on Memphis Ave it's exit only, to where they would still have access for the fuel delivery truck to access the property, and then limit the traffic to a one-way on those locations versus, dual traffic, and hopefully eliminate some of the accident problems.
And when you're looking at the overview, the two entrances and exits are just so close to the corner, and that is such a busy corner with so much traffic. And I know this is about a sign, but this is also, like the mayor said, we just had a safety study done, and this is a time that we can address it.
Oh, I totally understand. Look, I'll be honest, I agree with you guys. When I was looking at it and seeing the tank field, so if you see right in front of the store, there's a bunch of manhole covers, and that's where the fuel delivery truck would have to, that's where they park and dump fuel for the site. And so I'm trying to envision how they're able to access that if they can't get in. The way the canopies are located and the building's located, you create a safety issue on them coming around the canopies. So if it was a one-way only, so if you're on Tiedemann headed to Memphis Ave, it's a right turn into the site, and limit that to a turn in on Tiedemann only. And on Memphis Ave, allow that as a right-hand turn out of that only. I'm trying to envision how you could close one of those and just still have access for the fuel truck. But it would involve them having to back up and you're looking at a 70-foot rig trying to turn in that parking lot and get out. But I totally understand y'all's concerns, and I mean, I agree. I'm just trying to figure.
I understand.
I think would be a problem with access.
I'm sorry for interjecting.
Yes,
it's
no,
hard
no,
with
no,
Zoom. I understand when there's a right turn lane coming from Tiedemann. I don't understand keeping the entrance open at the Memphis Avenue point.
Just for the truck to get off the site. Because if they turn in, if they do a right-hand turn off of Tiedemann, they're going to end up pulling into the site parallel to the store. So to get off that property, they'd have to get under the canopy, and I don't know the clearance height of the canopy, or go around it, or they'd have to back up and go back out Tiedemann, or go to the other end of the property. I would propose the only time it's able to be used is for fuel deliveries. I don't know how.
And if I thought that,
that,
and if I thought that cars would actually follow that, it'd be one thing. Outside of our police officers sitting there all day, I doubt that would happen.
I know. I understand. I agree.
Does anybody else on the planning commission have any thoughts about this? Otherwise, I would say that we defer this until there's a plan to accommodate that, or we could send it to the zoning board to work this out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see an easy solution to the issue. I guess if the curb was raised on the right-hand entrance at Tiedemann, it would discourage trucks or cars from going over it, but might still allow a truck to run up there. But I'm speaking outside my area of expertise there.
Mayor, this is Engineer
But
Gerson, if I could opine.
Yes, Dan, we'd love to hear your opinion.
It appears that the applicant is applying for the sign, and he's not sure whether the truck can make it under there. Could you table it with them to come back with a truck turning radius to show us that either it can or cannot make it through those canopies? There appears to be enough room that they may be able to make it there, or maybe they need to do some improvements to the parking lot to make those turns. I would agree with you that if you keep those open for truck use, vehicles will use them all the time. So that may be a solution, or at least a way to table it to get more information back from the applicant.
Well, look, can I ask, I guess, one question? I'm asking things that really doesn't apply to my, I guess, scope of work and purview. The customers asked me just to get the sign approved. If you guys approve the sign contingent on those two ingress and egress have to be closed, then we've done our job and we can continue moving forward. If they have a question or concern with that, could they deal with that in a separate, a separate business with the city?
Dawn and Dave,
Because
could you
looking
correct
at
me
it, I
by
was-
saying they could reapply?
I mean, they can reapply. I'm just trying to think of what teeth we would have to enforce it if we don't make it a condition at this time, though. If they do want to put signs in the front of the building, like they have been, they're going to have to come back for approval for that. So I'm trying to think of what would be the best way to put it to where, we can at least get them to consider it and come back for it. I don't see why, I guess we couldn't make the sign approved, but a condition is going to be that some kind of plan needs to be brought back to the planning commission, whichever it may be. But what will happen is the sign will go up, and then there's a chance that they just kind of blow us off after that. So
I'd
That's
say,
my suggestion.
from my perspective, right now I'm getting a recommendation from engineers that those two entrances and exits be closed. And to make an exception otherwise without seeing the data that supports your concern, and I know you're speaking outside of your realm, you're just the sign guy.
Yes, ma'am.
And opening that up, I'm sort of, for me personally, I'm veering towards our engineer's recommendation and having a radius, truck radius study done to kind of show that this is your only opportunity to get these trucks in and out. Otherwise, my opinion is that we shut down these two ingress egress points if we're going to allow this sign this close to the street. So
Well, I'm
I mean,
fine with you guys closing the entrance and exit. I just, I don't want to. I don't know how the customer. I didn't want to. I'm just trying to, I guess, handle our part of it. So if you said you can only have the sign if these are closed, then that's what I would tell them.
but
the only
here's
way
the
you can have
thing.
the sign is these are closed, or you can do this study and you may still have to close it.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you through a whole extra event. So here's the thing, even if we said yes and put that contingent on that basis, you still have to go through zoning, Board of Appeals. So
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's probably best for us to talk about this offline, table it.
Okay.
And then we can bring it back to Planning Commission, because what I would hate to do is push you through with all these conditions on here and then ultimately get denied by the Board of Zoning because they feel like the things we're saying are valid and may or may not be addressed.
I understand.
So
So do we have a timeline for those items to occur that I can pass on to the
Yeah.
customer and operator?
hopefully we could address those things in the next couple weeks and get you on for the next meeting.
The next deadline would
Okay.
be April 22nd.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't
right,
mind,
so-
and we can defer it with those concerns in mind with the safety. And then we could talk about options and you can kind of run the analysis. You, maybe not, the business you're working for can run that analysis and you can relay those concerns. And maybe we can just push this, to the next meeting.
That's fine with me if that's y'all's determination. Not a problem. I'll pass that information along. Would there be a email or notes generated that would go out that we could forward to the customer to make sure that we're relaying that information correctly?
Yeah, I will get you out a note of the findings from this meeting early next week.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you guys need from us?
If you could just wait 1 second till we can get the final motion and
Yes, ma'am.
the vote, and then you can leave.
I move we
Sounds good. Thank you.
table, I move we table to the next meeting to address the safety concerns with those two ingress egress points and the distance of the sign.
Second.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. So we have a motion to table to address the safety concerns. Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
Ryan Summers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a request from Grand Auto with a window sign for Statewide Auto at LLC at 3540 Ridge Road. Dave, do you want to go over this, please?
Yes, the applicants requested to place a sign inside the window. And the one concern I had, I mean, I'm sure you guys looking at it are gonna probably be like, it kind of looks a little bit odd. I'm thinking this kind of is along the lines of something that has to be done, similar to when Ohio Peterbilt had to put up a sign for their business when they were set up there, something to do with the Department of Commerce requirement. But anyway, we do have, I believe this is the only business that we have in this building right now, and there is also another monument sign, freestanding sign out front, which is kind of bare right now. So I'd just kind of like to ask the applicant what their intentions are and let the board, let the planning commission go ahead and make a decision on it.
So if the applicant can answer those few questions, and I'll kick it out to the commission.
Unmute, Dimitro.
Hello, everyone. The only one company is a Statewide Auto. It's the same as Grand Automotive. We just changed the name from Grand Automotive to Statewide. It's only one company, but we have the mechanic who works for us, and he just did. He put the outside sign, magic touch it calls. That he fixes our cars, but he works for us. There is no other company inside. But if we need a permit for that, I can apply for the permit for his sign, or let him know not to put outside. I just didn't know if we're supposed to put it outside or not.
So I guess the question is that sign on the window because you're mandated by the state, or is that your just solution to advertise your business?
It's just to advertise so people know where is my company, even for mail or do the post mails or packages, so they see what company is in here.
Can you tell us what that sign's made of?
It's plastic. I can redo. I can do it nicer. It was just made wrongly, and I can redo it. Even whatever color needs to be done or sizing. It's the 2x4 now, and it doesn't look nice. But I just got made on the Brook Park Road signs on Brook Park Road.
Does anybody on the commission have any questions or comments?
I'm wondering if there's any plans for the empty sign pole.
I thought about, I might put also our company's name over there, but I would apply another time to put on that post. Same sign, but bigger and nicer.
So this is just a temporary measure until you put something in the bigger, nicer signpost?
I don't even know the measures. I didn't even get ready for that. So I don't know, maybe this spring or summer I'll do it.
So if this is just temporary, why don't we just file a temporary permit? Because I don't feel comfortable with approving this as a permanent sign.
What time limit would you guys like to set?
He said summer, so 2 months.
I can't tell exactly time. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I would consider as this sign is permanent until I decide to with the other sign, and I don't know the times, not for now at this moment.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I don't really feel comfortable approving it as a permanent sign without taking I would be okay if there was a permanent building sign, but then the pole needs to come down.
Katie, can we motion to deny it at this time until and they can come back, or we can defer it or something like that? I'm not comfortable approving that.
Okay, how about we motion for a temporary sign and make them come back? I think that is a fair measure. It gives them the opportunity to fix it and keep it up until they fix it. And it's just about setting that time parameter.
Then I would like to move that we approve this as a temporary sign for 60 days.
I second that.
All right, bear with me 1 second. I'm just putting the new motion in. To approve for 6 days with a review at that time, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. To approve for 6 days with a review at that time, Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you. Demetrio, you'll receive a letter and then you are all set if you'd like to log off. Or you can stand and watch the meeting.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Next, we have a request from Cleveland American and Holdings Cleveland American for a final site plan approval at 10575 Memphis Avenue. Don, do we have our applicant on?
It does look like Pat Ferran is on.
Okay. Dave, would you like to go over this? I know we did this on preliminary.
Oh, yes, we did. So, this is for the new Amazon project. At this point right now, I understand that they're going to have some revisions for us. And the couple of the questions that we have outstanding are in regard to the total area of landscaping, the percentage of the lot that's being covered by building and pavement. We're looking for verification of the setback distances and if there are any variances required. A couple of the other things that Dan Gerson had noted on review were the size of the entrances, clearances from utilities, manholes used in lieu of catch basins. And we also have the lot split consolidation, which is still being worked out. The details of that are still being worked out. And then I think though other than those items, we are not opposed to conditional approval until those are taken care of. I do just want to also mention, with all the trees that came down, there was a couple of calls from residents who, always are concerned when they see a lot of trees come down. So just want to probably emphasize landscaping. And that's all that I have on that right now.
Pat, do you want to go over anything before I kick it out to the commission?
Well, I would just, add that we did get most of the comments in advance. Chris Westbrook from Langen is also on with me today, and he's available to answer any technical questions. Just my own 2 cents in reviewing the comments. I think that the consensus on our team was that it was all reasonable stuff, and in many cases things we were going to do that just needed clarified. So I think we're all on the same page in that from a macro site plan approval perspective, I would hope that we're there, and that any of the detail or sort of the finer points we could conditionally approve and just make that contingent on actually pulling permits.
Do you have a landscaping plan at this point?
We do. Chris, do you want to?
We do, yes. We are running the calculations that were requested, and we plan to comply with the coverage percentage in the parking areas from the ordinance. So
Do you have anything to present?
we could bring up the site plan just to show the board and community what the latest plan looks like. I can share my screen.
You have permissions.
Okay.
Is it allowing you?
It is not. Still saying disabled.
Oh, how about if I do that? Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Let me know if you see it.
Yep.
Okay. So obviously, I think everyone knows where the site is on the former American Greetings facility abutting Memphis Ave, the old drive-in site. Layout is similar to what was presented several months ago for preliminary. Same building in the middle of the site, circulation around and parking around the four sides, a connector road, relocating the current driveway to Memphis from the site slightly north, and relocating the signal on Memphis Ave. And then a driveway out to Memphis, closer to where the bridge is being replaced to the southeast. So, and as mentioned, the landscape, we'll run the calculations, and we plan to comply with that. Setback distances, we'll dimension those, and we plan to comply with the parking setbacks, and we will minimize the width of the roadways to the extent that we can, while still allowing safe travel of fire vehicles and deliveries to the facility to avoid vehicles from backing up. But we're definitely in favor of reducing the lane widths where possible to pave just what's needed for the public roadway, or what could become a public roadway as a connector. In the engineering comments, we agree. The storm and utility comments and labeling we can provide as well. An item by item response to the city engineer's comments.
You're muted, Mayor.
I know, I just noticed that, sorry. There was a concern from the residents on Manoa that our ED director had sent out to, I think you, Pat, after the last meeting. And there was an assurance that there would be additional coverage or more coverage for those residents along Manoa. Obviously, I can't see that right now. So are you saying that that coverage will be there?
Yes, we're happy to screen that. Actually, the best use of that screening is actually not part of the proposed parcel itself, but I think that in some of our property, on the original Cleveland American parcel, that would be where to best locate, some additional tree screening. And actually, that brings up a little bit of a comment that I just have about, the coverage and stuff. Like, this parcel is purposely drawn to isolate just this tenant so I would just ask the commission to, when reviewing lot coverages and percentages of landscaping, not asking for any variances, we plan on complying, but also understand that this is one piece of a larger campus that I think is, has a fair amount of green space and trees and forests.
Well, Pat, I mean, that's all good, but unless you're dedicating some areas and you're looking for a variance to that, you still are going to have to comply with the lot coverage for this particular parcel. That
Understood. We did say we're going to comply. So I just,
later on.
when it comes to like it, it's going to be close, but we will get there. But it's going to be, we will fit it. It will be sort of the just barely qualifying variety, but then I'd ask to, kind of take some context of the surrounding campus.
We understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that the use and enjoyment of the people that are in the surrounding area are met as well. So
completely agree. And like Chris said, we just need to run the calculations and show you on the drawing how we are in compliance, but the intention is to comply.
Yes.
Does anybody on the commission have any questions or comments?
Is there some sort of a rendering in this large 30-page PDF of that landscaping screening to help allay the residents' concerns? And if not, could we get something like that?
Yes, we could provide we could provide that on the landscape plan on the side facing the residential. Yes.
I think the question is really the landscaping plan for the total property. I mean, that's typically what we get when we get final site plan approval. And I think that that's the concern right here is if we don't see it, all we're going is your assurance that it's going to be done.
So that is the landscape plan, and we could work to meet the code for the trees. We could relocate trees from islands to the perimeter if that would be if it would be more visible and provide more benefit as a screen.
Chris, I don't think we need to relocate. We can just add trees.
That would work. Yep, that would work.
My question is just knowing that there's going to be another questionable lot. Are all these parking spots still needed?
Not
Yeah, I was
following.
also going to mention, I couldn't find a total for the number of parking spots, but I see a lot of tiny little parking spots.
There are 67. There are approximately 720 vehicle parking spots plus the loading dock positions on the west side, which is similar to what was presented for preliminary.
I guess my question is, since there's another plan, is it still this many needed? Another plan for another parking lot down the street?
But I don't.
The-
I'm not sure what you
believe
mean.
This
Mayor.
is self-contained on this. The parking for this facility is aimed to be provided on the site.
Mayor, are you referring to early on in the discussions we had planned on having additional parking positions at the extreme rear of our Cleveland American parcel? Is that what you're referring?
No.
I'm not aware of another parking operation unless this tenant is doing that outside of coordination with us.
Obviously, that's happening.
Yeah, I guess so. So,
Right. Yeah.
well, I say we approve our plan and then those people can fend for themselves.
Okay, I have no issue with moving to approve contingent on all of the engineers' requests. My concern is landscaping. They have to follow code. They've already put out there that they will do coverage for those concerned residents on Manoa, and I'm holding that to them. And we'll see if I get a second.
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. To approve contingent on the city engineer's requests and approval. Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
and Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay, thank you for your continued partnership. Appreciate it.
Okay, it's been a long night already. So next we have a request from Prime Properties for a final site plan approval for gas station at 3580 Ridge Road. Dave?
Okay. So this plan, we actually saw, it was presented to the Planning Commission a bit over a year ago. And
2019.
Over a year ago, yes.
Everything's blending together, Dave, because of COVID.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, the plan had changed a bit. At that time, I think we did give them a preliminary plan approval, of course, contingent upon all the other approvals being granted and then coming back for final approval. So the plan changed a little bit since then, and there's been some difficulty in getting the approvals that we needed as requested by planning our Dan Gerson, our city engineer. So just recently, we had some discussions with the client, and they were to get an engineer on board to help answer those questions that we have here. And this plan that you're seeing right here is the latest marked up version that Dan provided his comments on for them. So at this point, I don't see any way to be able to recommend the final approval that they are asking for at this time, but we definitely can talk about a preliminary site plan approval and then any other issues that the planning commission wants to discuss and make sure that we get answers to, along with what's still needed by our city engineer.
Dan, do you want to add anything before I kick it out to the applicant?
Mayor, we've just gone through a couple revisions on this. This plan we got on 3/31 just the other day. We quickly looked at it, seeing as it was coming on to planning commission meeting. Here it looks like they're providing an addition to the existing building. There's some confusion over whether the green area is grassed area. There's some new poles that are identified, light poles. So we've asked for a lighting plan based on that. So that lighting plan should include any new lights plus existing lights so we can see if there's any light trespass. And then we need to know what's going on grading wise of the property. They show contour lines, but none of them are labeled. And so we want to make sure that when the project is built, there's not an increase in runoff to neighboring properties causing flooding in the area. So those are the general nature of the comments, but we'll be happy to try to address them as they come up here.
Okay, I'd like to kick it out to the applicant for any additional information or anything that would be helpful for the commission before I move on to commissioners' questions.
Mayor, I do not see Robert Corna, who is the architect we have been working with on this project. I do see Prime Properties Elias Sufan. He would just need to unmute himself.
Elias, do you have anything that you want to add?
There we go.
Don, do they have an engineer on today or just the architect that was supposed to be here?
From the understanding that I received, they have not retained an engineer.
Mayor, I did have a conversation with an engineer today that he appeared that he was being asked to provide a proposal for doing the engineering work. So him and I discussed the comments and I explained what my comments were. So he had an understanding of what his task would be.
Yes, Elias, we can hear you. Do you want to?
Sorry about that. When I called in or when I was on earlier on my phone, it said I unmuted myself, but I guess you couldn't hear me. I didn't know it was on the computer. I had unmuted as well. I apologize for that. And Bob Corner's with me. We're in the same room. So I apologize. Please continue.
I guess we're looking for any kind of feedback at this point. The building commissioner is recommending that we do not go beyond preliminary site plan approval because there are so many outstanding items. So we're curious if there's anything you'd like to add or make clear to the commission before I kick it out to them.
We had our engineer involved today with a conversation with, hopefully he was able to finally get a hold of your engineer. Some of the things that were involved with this process have been above my head when it gets into some of the things he was requesting with the traffic and with stormwater runoff. So we put it into the technical side with our engineer and your engineer to try to get this resolved so it doesn't keep going back and forth. We're basing our presentation on what we did a year and a half ago, where we didn't have all these, we got our approval not with all the comments that we're getting now. I thought we had an approval a year and a half, but I guess we're back starting all over again. One of the major changes that we see is that you're asking for us to take the gravel area and make it grass, which we've shown there in green, and we've done that, which should substantially reduce any kind of runoff to the site, which should not require us to do anything with any kind of extensive study, stormwater study. I want to go back to where I've been taking a position from the beginning, is we are not changing this site at all. Our objective is just to build the building addition, as we have done from the beginning. The site is to remain as is, except for a few minor changes to the north to add a dumpster site and revise the couple parking spots, but we're not touching anything on the site. We're not bringing in any new utilities. We're using the existing utilities of the existing building, which has an existing bathroom, which we're changing and adding a new bathroom into the new building and abandoning the old bathroom, which has a toilet and a sink. And we're using all the existing plumbing, which means sanitary and water. So we're not bringing any new water. All the lighting on the site, we're using the existing lighting. We had not planned on bringing any new lighting in. So we keep getting the request to do a lighting study for new lighting. We're getting requests to provide existing sanitary and storm where we're not changing anything. We keep being asked to do a traffic study, which we don't understand, but I'm having all those questions answered by our engineer because I don't understand it, why we need a traffic study. I'm letting him handle it. We're going through whatever he wants us to do. There's been a continuous request for us to do a grading plan, which we've been providing on every submittal from the beginning. We provide a grading plan. I don't know what else he wants us to do, but we're going to provide whatever he's continuing to ask us, because we have been providing grading plans. So I'm leaving it up to the two engineers to try to get this deadlock done so that we can provide whatever he wants, because it's very unusual, the requests we've been asked for. We've done 10 of these, and I've never quite been through quite a detail of these kind of requests. We've been doing them in Lakewood, 2 in Cleveland, did them in Parma, and gone through planning commissions and, gone through all kinds of approvals, but I've never quite run into this kind of deadlock. And I just have to bring in somebody else that can deal with this engineer on a different basis, because obviously there's a deadlock here we have to break loose on. These comments that are being brought up on this plan have been brought up before. I've answered them. They keep coming back at us. The only way to answer these are with our engineer. I don't see why we can't get this approved tonight to move on. We'd like to start the station. Everything that's being asked here, we've answered before. We provided a new Alta survey, which we provided. I don't think it's here on this. Is it on this? Do you have it, Alliance, on ours?
No, it's the survey. If you can just
the survey. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that was. I called. There it is. This is the new survey that we had done, which they requested, which shows the property owners and everything he requested previously. It shows the permanent parcel numbers. It shows the existing buildings as they exist and all the existing conditions. I thought this would meet his request for those items. Again, we're not changing the site. We're not touching it. The way we're building the building is we're digging the footers. We're not even removing the existing concrete. We're actually building, putting gravel on top of the existing concrete and pouring a new concrete slab on top of it. It'll end up being even with the concrete of the existing building. We've continually put in our drawings that we were not touching the existing building, and that has always been the case, but they've been requesting information on the existing building, which we provided in our last request. We have, in this plan, decided, Elias has decided, that we would put a new facade. We've done a new facade we decided to put a new facade on the existing building, and that's the only change that we're offering today. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kasup and Mr. Corna. I think that, there's been a lot of back and forth in this. It's a lot of he said, and I've been put in the middle of this quite a bit over the course of the last few months. And so I do want to give Mr. Colsar and Mr. Garrison the opportunity to clarify anything from their side. I think at this point I'm confused, the commission's confused at the back and forth, and it's made it very difficult for us to get an accurate viewpoint of what's going on right now. So Dave, do you want to start off, and then Dan, anything to add from here?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it has been a long, drawn-out process. I mean, honestly, the quality of the plans have been, there's been a lot of stuff missing the whole way through, and changes have come in, revised plans have come in without explanation of what the changes were. So we've done our best to try to keep up and continue to provide, feedback to Mr. Corna to be able to provide plans that you would ultimately be able to approve. I mean, at this point, now we just got yesterday that they, really came through and said, okay, we understand we really need a professional engineer to address these requirements. And as of yesterday, they, at least got somebody to take a look and have the conversation with City Engineer Gerson. So I'm still of the opinion that, that we really need to get these approvals done prior to granting any kind of final approval. This was first brought to you over, well over a year ago. And I just don't see that they're going to be able to get the project, the plans done and approved if we give them a final approval at this point, even conditionally. I would feel much more comfortable, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan right now to explain.
Now, Dan, before you start speaking, Dave, can you remind the commission of where these plans were on preliminary and what has changed from this proposed final?
From the original preliminary, I mean, there was not a whole lot different. I mean, there's, some of the details in that, but at that time too, the comments, were the same, when it comes to the actual site and what we need to see on the site for that to be able to be approved. So there hadn't been throughout this whole course, not a whole lot of changes. We also went through the building code review for the building itself, and those were pretty well worked out. So that's something that could be approved, once we get the site approved. That answer your question?
Thank you, Mayor. There were a lot of questions and comments brought out by the applicant. One of the statements that came out was there are no new lights on this site. I'm responding to plans that are submitted by the applicant. This was submitted on 3/31, and there's 2 new light poles identified by the applicant. So I'm not sure whether there are new light poles or those are a mistake on the plans, but as far as the grass in the back, I've suggested that if they are increasing the impervious area by putting a new building, which is a change to the site, that perhaps by taking gravel away and planting grass, they can reduce the overall imperviousness of the site. On this plan, they've shown this as green. It's not labeled as grass, but I will assume it's grass, but I would like that to be labeled so that when the site is built, we will know what we're going to expect in the city of Brooklyn, and we know what to inspect. Just on this plan alone, the handicap spaces, I believe, are new. They're not in compliance with code in terms of the size. And when you put a handicap space, you also need to provide elevations to make sure they're in code with ADA. As for the contours are shown here, but they're not labeled. I've been asking for the source of those contours many times. I've been getting elevations on those contours that frankly do not make any sense. And so I've asked for the source, i.e. who provided those elevations and how they were provided. Were they surveyed? Were they from the county topo? Just the data of where those are from so we understand the source of those. Just as today, I already mentioned that I did talk to an engineer that contacted me about the site. We went over the comments that I had. He's opined that those comments are reasonable and he should be able to handle those if he's hired. I don't think my comments are unreasonable, and I will continue to make comments on the plans that are presented to me. Thank you.
Does anybody in the commission have any particular questions about this application?
Not in particular.
Stephen, Sue, anything?
I mean, I don't have any questions. I have some concerns. And Dan mentioned two of them. The applicant says there aren't any new light poles, and it appears on these plans there are. I'm going to have to err on the side of our city engineer. And our city engineer said that while there's gravel there, and if the applicant says that they're going to replace gravel with grass, I think that also needs to be shown on the plan. It may be universal that it's green, but I can also see on a final inspection them saying, well, we just chose green. We didn't intend to. So I have concerns, but I don't have questions.
Katie, this is Stephen. I'm reading the minutes from that meeting back in 2019. And at the time, because I believe Sue and I were on the commission at that time, it said that it was a complete rebuild of the new gas station and a removal of the old one. So that's what we had approved at that time as a preliminary site approval.
Thank you. I think in a normal case, I would say, you know, we can move forward if there was less concerns in front of us by saying, you know, we would leave it up to the engineer to fix those. But this seems to be a back and forth at this point. So me as one member of the commission, I am not comfortable moving past preliminary site plan approval because what we passed in preliminary is not what we're passing today for final. And there are so many things that are outstanding. So, you know, I will go ahead with the motion and we'll see if it passes. I move that we would approve this new plan as a preliminary site plan approval and ask the applicant to come back for final.
Second.
Sorry, I had to find the mute button. Okay, so we're going to approve of preliminary plans only, correct?
That's my motion.
And Brian seconded, perfect. So approve preliminary plans, Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you.
I truly hope that we can get to a remedy in this particular situation. I think we can get there with moving forward with an engineer. So hopefully next month we can approve something. And if you are able to get it accommodated sooner, I know the commission would be more than willing to come back for a special meeting.
I appreciate that, Mayor. So we'll get these changes rectified with what the engineer is asking for, and we'll provide those reports and studies that are going to be required. Just one comment I did want to make about the grassed area on the plan. It is on one of Bob's drawings. It does show on the site plan that isn't colored, that the gravel area is to be grassed area where it was marked on both sides of it. I apologize it wasn't put on the colored plan as well, that it's going to be grass, but that is the plan. That was the solution to the gravel, instead of, because I understand that we can't leave it gravel, so we agreed that we'll grass that entire area, and that should solve some of the problems. But we'll make sure that the engineer that we've hired will satisfy these issues, and hopefully we can request a special meeting, because I really would like to get this this project started and finished and leave it much nicer than it is right now. So thank you everyone for taking the time today. I know everyone has a blessed Easter coming up and a Good Friday tomorrow. Thank you everyone for the time they took today, and I'll try and get this rectified middle of next week.
Thank you. The last thing we have on our agenda is a request from Bowen for a preliminary site plan approval for the new city center at 8000 Memphis Avenue, new address. I'll turn it over to Robin from Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. We're happy to be here tonight to present this project to Planning Commission. We've been working on it since I think about November was our kickoff, and we've been working closely with the city to get it to this point. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll give you an overview of what we have planned. Okay, I hope everyone can see a colored site plan of the site right now. So, excuse me, we are proposing a new building, a new city hall and police station, and new parking areas at the west side of the existing recreation center site, which is currently part on the north parcel of the city center along Memphis Avenue. It's not shown here, but south of Memphis, kind of down where my cursor is where the existing city hall and police station are currently. Excuse me. So in this plan here, we've got the new city center building positioned in the southwest corner with a 2-story high area to house city hall functions, and a 1-story area with police and jail functions, a 1.5-story height garage, and then a firing range alternate on the back. Let's see here, the existing recreation center will remain. So will the existing driveway from Memphis into the site. We will be adding a new parking lot on the southeast corner of the site, new parking areas around the city center building. So the southeast corner parking area, the parking area in front of City Hall, this long parking area between the rec center and the city center building, and the parking area up to the north next to the baseball field is all public access. We'll be reworking the drop-off lane to provide better access to the rec center. Once I'll flip to the next plan, you'll be able to see the multi-lanes here. We're also adding a new curb cut and drive that will provide connectivity around the site for police. The curb cut up to this small parking area will be public access. It'll provide access for the building department, as well as individuals who need to visit animal control. There will be a vehicle gate here at this red arrow that will be accessible to police, who will have this parking area back here for their personal vehicles. and the garage will house the police cruiser and their fleet. So we'll go to this next drawing here, just to provide an idea of what we're going to be removing. So you can see here, the existing drive will stay. We're going to remove this large parking area over here to the west that currently services the baseball fields and the rec center. And that's one of the reasons we want to put in the parking lot over here on the southeast, is to provide, to put back the parking we're losing with the new building, and providing it in a more convenient spot for the rec center. So this is just a black and white version, a more developed plan than the concept plan that I just showed you. You can see our parking areas. We are putting in, let's see here, the total parking count, including the garage in the Sallyport area, is 400 spaces. So a significant amount of those will be public spaces. I think over more than half, probably about 60 to 70% of those are public spaces. Additionally, on the north side of the site, we will be addressing stormwater on site. We have a detention pond up here. It will be a dry pond. As far as the setbacks on the site, the new building complies with the setback requirements. We have 50-foot here setback from the property line along Memphis. And we also, over here near the drive is 20.8 foot approximately setback from the property line, which complies with zoning. And the building complies with the 50-foot setback from the residential side property line. We are requesting a variance for the setback, the front setback of this new southeast parking lot. Over on Memphis, the zoning requirement is 50 feet. In order to maximize the space for parking, we are requesting to do a 25-foot setback to the curb line. This setback still allows us to provide landscape screening, as well as leaves room for the potential future greenway path that would run along Memphis. And you can see here also, I mentioned the drop-off. We're reworking the drop-off lane for the rec center as well to make it safer. So we have a two-way main lane that you can bypass it, and then dropping off and picking off of the rec center, you can enter off of North Amber to these two one-way lanes with a single drop-off lane with a bypass lane to make it safer for individuals coming to the rec center. As part of this project, we will be working to resurface the existing asphalt parking lot, parking spaces, just to bring everything up to a new finished grade. And we will also be upgrading or replacing poles and site lighting along these existing parking areas, as well as new site lighting through the rest of the site. That is still in progress. We were just talking about it today in a design meeting to pick fixtures, and we'll work up photometrics for the project. So that's part of what we submitted. We also have in progress, I'd like to share with you this evening, is our first draft, our preliminary planting plan. We're not at a point where we've selected plantings yet, but we do have an idea of where we would like to put trees, screening. So you can see we're proposing new trees around the parking lot. And then this hatched area here is a low shrub screening. So we're looking at screening both of these parking areas from Memphis. We'll be adding trees and green space around the site. One of the areas that we're paying quite a bit of attention to is this 20-foot wide setback over here along the residential properties. We are proposing landscaping, heavy landscaping as a buffer all the way along our secure fence line, which is where our daily parking and activity will occur for police, for noise as well as view. And so we're looking at the types of plantings that will give us a nice dense mix of varied heights and densities to make this a functional screen as well as a pleasing aesthetic screen for the residents. We're also developing the plaza area in front of the City Hall and police station. We're looking at a main entry, a pavered area, a small event space that will work in conjunction with the community space that's in this corner of the building. So these are all in progress right now, and I think we're moving forward. And then lastly, we do have our in progress renderings of the facility itself. So this is kind of standing in our new parking area right in front of, City Hall, looking at the plaza design. You can see the event area I just talked about, the community room. And this is our main entry to City Hall and then the police station. Once you get inside, the lobbies do connect. This form over here is where the majority of the city offices are. And then back over here to the right, you can see part of the area of the police station, the vehicle garage, and then the firing range form on the end. This is another view. If you're further into the site looking out towards Memphis, you get a better view of the police department entry, City Hall entry, very prominent portal into the city. We do suggest some signage here. We're still working through that. We'll be back for more discussion on that, I'm sure, with your group as we develop it further. This is the current facade that faces Memphis on the south. We are working through this a little more. Some of the comments that we've discussed with the city is that we're looking to make this kind of more prominent, more reflective of what's going on the east side here, because it does face Memphis, and we want that to be a strong facade as well. Another view closer into the area of the plaza, looking up at the City Hall and the curtain wall. I think that's it. So I'm going to go back out to that view. I think, are there any questions or comments?
Dave, I'm sorry, I usually kick it out to you, but you have been part of this plan from the beginning, so I just went right to Robin. Did you want to add anything before I went to the commission?
I guess a bit, yeah. I mean, Robin and the rest of the team has done a great job so far. So, I mean, I've been very pleased to be a part of all this. And yeah, I mean, I think everything's been going, really good with respects to the flow of the site and the building itself. I don't have anything critical to put to it, and yeah, it's all been coming along just great.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for skipping you. And does anybody on the commission have any questions? As you probably understand, that I've been a part of this from the beginning, so I've seen this a lot, and so I don't really have anything, but a couple of you, this is the first time viewing it, so please ask as many questions or comments or concerns as you may have.
So this is Brian. I guess I just kind of have a general concern. I know you talked about like this heavy screening, but the police station, especially being a 24-hour operation, looks kind of close to the Brookway residences there. So I know you talked about the screening some, but I also see there's like firing lanes inside on the north end of it. So I'm just, I guess, lighting as well as sound being so close to people's backyards and something that's designed to operate on a 24-hour basis is just something I'd like to, I don't know, if there'd been any more consideration about that.
Yes, that's a high priority as we're working through the site design. We do agree that we are close, let me pull up the planning plan, that we are close to residents, and we're very cognizant of making sure that the light fixtures, especially the exterior fixtures we're looking at for this side of the building, have high cutoffs so that we're as close to zero as we can at this property line to make sure we're not bleeding over. We did meet with the Brookway residents last Thursday, so they've had a preview, and we did hear similar concerns because this is a big change for them. One of the items that we talked about as well, the two-story space here, the lights on the two-story space, or the windows, excuse me, are focused towards the south and the east, so we're minimizing light spill from the building on the west side. You know, we are also aware of the sound concerns. You know, the police are have addressed that usually they're out on the road or have left the site by the time they put their sirens on. The garage doors that we have over here on the Sallyport and the vehicle garage itself they're not high speed. They're just a standard garage door. We'll make sure that we look at housings on them that will be appropriate. We're cognizant to try and keep that sound on our property. I don't know, Ellen or Kyle, anything else that we've?
Yeah, the site, the use of the site really isn't going to produce a lot of additional sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like fire trucks where there are heavy engines that are idling. So they're mostly police cars without sirens. The sound, I really don't see as an issue.
I think a firing range would be the most sound concern. And at this point, it's an alternate. So we're going to price that out. But even given that, assuming that it gets built, that is going to be a concern to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of blocking from those residents hearing that noise. I know up until, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we had a firing range right below my current office, and that Mayor Coyne wouldn't allow them shooting while he was in the office because you could hear, but it happened right underneath where I'm sitting right now. So they can do a lot of noise mitigation on those firing range now, even more than they could, 10, 20 years ago. Much more than they could 10, 20 years ago. So that is definitely going to be a consideration.
Thank you.
Dan, Jason, do you have anything to add?
Mayor, this is Dan Gerson, engineer. No, I've kind of followed the process through, especially now that we've gotten a lot into the utilities and site plan. It's coming along nicely. Obviously, I believe this is preliminary, so there'll be some final drawings coming for Planning Commission in the future.
Yep, and I don't have anything else to add either. That was well summarized by Robin.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions? Okay. I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve the preliminary site approval.
Second.
Thank you. To approve preliminary plans, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
I don't know why I said your name first. Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you. Long meeting.
Very long meeting. Such a great meeting to end on before I go on vacation. Okay. Well, does anybody else have anything to talk about before we adjourn?
I'd like to say this would be our last planning commissioner or planning meeting with our building commissioner, Dave Colster. He is leaving us next week.
Yes, good luck, Dave. I hope the grass is greener on the east side.
I miss you all. It's been a great pleasure working with every one of you. And, feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions. And I am going to come back and see what my future office is going to end up looking like too. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, I move we adjourn.
Second.
You guys are faster than me on the buttons today. To adjourn, Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
and Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you. See you guys. Been fun meeting.
Hey, Dave, Ken also says good luck. He's going to miss you.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Sorry to hear that.
Thanks.
Bye.